If you're a big JRPG fan, you've probably felt so lucky within the past few years. We've seen the recent resurgence of a bunch of old school RPGs being ported to modern systems, and now we've received yet another amazing collection, that being the Suikoden 1 and 2 collection. Now personally, I have been very excited for this game as I have never had the chance to play these games with them being so expensive in the retro scene. And lo and behold, after I'd picked up my own copy of the game on the Switch, in my email was a message from Konami asking if I wanted a review copy and to make a video on Suikoden 1 and 2 HD. So disclaimer, I was provided a review copy, but I was given no guidelines on how to make a video at all. Normally I would make a big in-depth analysis, and with the games being in kind of a sweet spot where they're kind of new for a lot of people, I didn't want to fully spoil the game. So instead, let's talk about some great reasons to try Suikoden 1 and 2 HD, and why you might want to pick the game up. Now, the first major reason you might want to try Suikoden 1 and 2 is actually the surprisingly small time investment needed to complete both games. You can finish the first Suikoden in 15 to 20 hours, and Suikoden 2 within 25 to 30. Both of these games really know exactly what they want to accomplish and do their best to not pad out the experience with anything like big long grind sessions. Any extra content you seek out, which you are going to want to get those different endings, are purely out of your own enjoyment of the series itself. Now, the story is also another amazing reason why you might want to play Suikoden 1 and 2. Both games revolve around war and the issues that arise when someone you love is fighting on the other side. These games do a really great job of drawing you in personally to care about the world and its characters, and drives you to do everything you can to save as many people as possible. While you are a leader of an army in both games, Suikoden doesn't bog the game down with unnecessary political exposition and dialogue like some other bigger JRPGs. Instead, you visit the entire world, learning of personal stories and tragedies that characters go through in order to better understand the war's impact. Then you recruit those characters to your side, and they become more connected in the overarching narrative. It's a great, simple concept that is executed so well, especially in Suikoden 1 and 2. And all of these characters that you're going to recruit during the story is another great reason to play the game. As the leader of an army, you're going to need a lot of loyal soldiers by your side. This, I think, is Suikoden's most unique aspect, which really got me hooked on both games. As you adventure across the land, you'll come across a huge variety of characters to recruit to your side. There are 108 characters to be precise in both games. You'll know when it's someone you can recruit because they'll have their own custom portrait, or they are just insanely dripped out. What I love about this though is that these characters aren't necessarily just soldiers you can recruit to fight in your party or on the battlefield. They have other uses outside of combat. Like Templeton, for example, who is a cartographer, and by recruiting him, you'll get access to the world map on your screen for easier traveling. Or Vicky, the klutzy mage who, once recruited, can instantly teleport you to any town you've previously been to. Every time you recruit someone as well, they'll be at your castle, which is also great to just walk around as you progress through the game, watching it slowly become renovated to accommodate more people, and you start to see a real force come along. All of these people you've personally talked to and recruited. It feels like a little community that you've bolstered yourself. Recruiting these party members is a core mechanic of both games that is not only fun, but actually alters the ending of Suikoden and gives you a bigger appreciation for the world itself. Of course, there are mainly story-centric characters like Gremio and Victor, who I seriously love, but there are also some more random characters like my boy Sidonia, or Marie, a kind innkeeper who opens up her own inn at the castle for you to rest at. Some of these characters also appear in both games, making it super rewarding to become a long-time fan of the series, as from what I understand, this is a recurring element in a lot of future Suikoden games. And with all these characters you're going to recruit, you can use them in combat, and some of them of course are centered around that. Suikoden takes the traditional turn-based RPG format we all know and love, and adds its own flair to it that helps create a dynamic system. You get 6 party members to fight with, formatted into 2 rows. Different characters have different ranges, such as Flick the Blue Thunder being a frontline fighter, and Kinston being an archer. So they work better in the back line. With the huge amount of characters to recruit, you can just have fun customizing and making your own perfect party. Of course, you're going to have certain story characters be locked into your party for a large majority of the game, so complete control isn't always possible, but normally you get to choose at least 2 to 4 people to have in your party at any one time, with few sections of the game limiting to only a couple. Even so, the mandatory characters are story characters you get to know and love, and most likely you'll want them in your party anyway. Aside from standard hits against your opponents, you'll also have runes to use, which are installed on each character. These runes are associated with elements and give certain attacks and abilities, like the water rune giving healing statuses, and the earth rune having huge AoE potential. These runes also upgrade as the game goes on, so you don't need to spend so much time in the menus trying to optimize your characters completely. A lot of it's done on the battlefield. Some characters will also have the true runes, which have unique abilities on all their own. Some characters as well have unite attacks, which will use two characters' actions up to do a co-op move of some kind. These are flashy, very cool, and effective to use in a variety of combat scenarios that make experimenting with them and a lot of people in the game worthwhile. And aside from your standard battle encounters, you'll also fight with your entire force in the form of army battles. Suikoden 1 and 2 both approach these battles quite differently. Suikoden 1 focuses on a simplistic rock paper scissors format with its large scale battles, with the people you recruit helping you gain a huge advantage in these. Like with the ninjas, they can tell you what move the enemy is going to use next in order to gain a successful attack against them. In Suikoden 2, these fights are changed to a more traditional tactical game, similar to Fire Emblem. You'll move the groups of units individually and have the ability to add recruitable characters into different squads to mix and match the power of it. Both are great in their own way, but it's good to see how much Suikoden 2's army battles evolve compared to the simplicity of Suikoden 1's. You also get to fight in climatic battles called duels, which follow the same format as Suikoden 1's army battles, but in a 1v1 format. Rock, paper, scissors once again, but the strength and level of your character actually helps give you an edge, as well as paying attention to the type of character they are. If you can understand the enemy's personality and listen to what they're saying, it can help you make an educated guess on the kind of attacks they're going to prefer to use, and you can counter with a little bit better knowledge. I really love how unique Suikoden's various combat systems are, especially for the time of its release. And even today, they feel quite fresh and innovative, 2 decades later. Now, with 108 characters, you might be worried that there will be a huge amount of level grinding to do within Suikoden 1 and 2. Well, you'd be happy to hear that it isn't the case. In my experience of playing both games, I've barely had to spend any time grinding, only a handful of times in both games. I think in Suikoden 1, I only did one lot of grinding for about 30 minutes at the very end of the game. Leveling is made incredibly easy, and there's even a hard lock on EXP once you've leveled up sufficiently enough for the current story arc. What's also great is that if you have a lower level character that you want in your party, they will level up way more than anyone else while fighting in said party in order to catch up to the average level. And this will happen in just a handful of fights, meaning whenever you pick up a new party member, it's incredibly easy to implement them into your main group if you really like them and want to make use of their toolkit for a specific boss, for example. This ties into Suikoden just not wanting to waste your time. It wants you to focus on the story and the journey. Gear is also super simple as well. Finding and buying armor is your standard affair, and the weapons just have to be upgraded, and you can instill rune pieces to give them special effects. This can all be done from your base if you recruit the right people. It just streamlines the process and helps keep you away from menus and into the meat and potatoes of Suikoden. Something that ties into the easy grind of Suikoden is the simple yet enthralling world the game sets itself in. The map itself is an overworld format, similar to a lot of older RPGs, and this makes sense for ease of exploration. The dungeons themselves are also all quite simple, with some of them having puzzle varieties aside from your standard enemy and boss encounters. The dungeons never felt as though they overstayed their welcome, although due to how simple they were, at times they did feel a little bit easy compared to the more difficult dungeons I'm used to in older games, but each dungeon is quite distinct and has its own identity, so you find yourself remembering them rather than them all blending together. I will say as well, in the overworld and in the dungeons, the encounter rates for enemies are very low, lower than any other JRPG of this type I've played. So if you're one to get annoyed at high enemy encounters, especially when trying to progress in dungeons, Suikoden will provide you with sweet relief knowing you can actually make a decent dent in dungeons without having to constantly leave to heal up. It's also nice that the boats in this game don't have on-water encounters, making them the fast transport unlike any other JRPG with vehicle transport. The villages that populate this world are all super charming as well, each with their own distinct style and reflection of various real-world cultures. From the capital of Gregminster to smaller villages, each one has colourful characters to recruit, making them all memorable in their own way. Now, this might sound silly, but another reason you might want to have this game is just to have a physical copy of such a classic game in your collection. Coming from someone who does collect a lot of retro titles, games like Suikoden are definitely on the pricey side nowadays, and while yes, there have been many ways to play Suikoden through other means for years now, sometimes it's just nice to have an easy way to play it on modern systems that you can just whack in and play. We've been seeing this recently with a lot of JRPGs getting brought to modern systems like Suikoden and Baten Kaitos, Romancing Saga, and Dragon Quest, just to name a few. By supporting ports like this, we can really show developers that these are the kind of games we want to see and be brought onto modern platforms, which is why I'll always buy the small JRPG re-release. Tying into this, often with games like this that get re-released, we'll get updated graphics and quality of life features, and Suikoden is no different. Maybe you've already played the original a bunch of times and you've already got your old copy secured. Then again, having this game on modern systems in your current setup is just really nice and convenient, especially with these quality of life features. The remastered version looks great, with enhanced lighting and sprites as well as new portraits for Suikoden 1. The game also has changed the UI to make navigating the menus easier, with things like the log to record and pin messages to help remember where you need to go if you haven't picked up the game in a hot minute. It's simple features like this that really make the basic remasters worth it. It doesn't change the experience a lot, it just helps bring it to the modern era and roughs out some of the edges of a 20-year-old game. Something that ties into the enhanced graphics is also the music of Suikoden. There are seriously some moving pieces in this game that help enhance the cutscenes since there's no voice acting. The town themes are particularly jovial, especially in Suikoden 2. Dungeon music is mysterious and really helps set the scene, and pretty much any cutscene involving Leknat is going to have some tension building music to mystify her even more. Here's hoping the soundtrack comes to Spotify and iTunes. It is absolutely amazing. Now, even though it's kind of silly, the last reason I really think Suikoden 1 and 2 is great and you should play it is because it's in a unique position. A lot of older JRPGs are already very well known in the West and have been thoroughly analyzed and spoiled, like Final Fantasy VII and X, Dragon Quest III, Chrono Trigger, the list goes on. Yes, those games are amazing and you should play them, but Suikoden luckily hasn't had the biggest presence, especially to a lot of modern day gamers. This is one of those rare moments that an old game can be treated as completely brand new. You know it's a quality game, praised by its fanbase, but since it's small, you can basically experience this game as, yes, if it was brand new, no spoilers, no crazy expectations, you just know it's going to be a pretty damn good JRPG from back in the day, just with modern features we've all become accustomed to nowadays. It's a big part of why I didn't want to do a big deep dive into Suikoden 1 and 2, because this is the first time for a lot of us, myself included. It's the first time we've had a chance to play a legendary game series basically free of spoilers, and that really is something to treasure and take care of. These are my personal reasons to play Suikoden 1 and 2 HD. There's so much to love about this game, from the music and its setting, to the characters that will inhabit the world and you'll meet along the way. The overarching plot that ties into all of these characters in the games is just awesome. If you've been craving an old school JRPG with a unique twist on its character recruitment and combat, look no further than Suikoden 1 and 2 HD. Hope you guys enjoyed this little video, and hey, if you would like me to do a deep dive like I usually do on Suikoden 1 and 2, let me know, maybe I'll do it in a couple of years' time. But first, I reckon you guys should go out and try this game for yourself, see what characters you can recruit, and see what the fate of the world has in store for you, and if you can be a general worthy to bring peace to the land. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you'll try out this game for yourself. Thank you once again, Konami. And before I go, I gotta remind you to keep shredding. See ya!